My name is Shane English. I'm with Texas Property Tax Reform and Political Discussions. I'm making this short video to help those people that are trying to protest their taxes, property taxes, for the very first time. A few things you should know about me is, one, I used to have throat cancer, so I've lost my teeth and I have trouble talking a little bit and my mouth dries out. I'm not a public speaker. I'm just doing this to try to help. Property taxes are getting to be a very big issue in Texas. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people can be taxed out of their houses before they're able to ever retire. And just because you get 65 doesn't mean your taxes, property taxes, don't go up anymore. They do freeze the values, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to go up. Right now, if you're homesteaded, they should be able to restrict the amount that your property taxes go up every year by 10%. But if they do that, every 7 years, your property taxes still double. So how many times are you going to be able to afford that before you retire? So it's going to be a major issue. We've got a plan in place to address most of these issues. The long-term goal of fixing the Texas property tax system. And there are several ideas out there how to do it. One of the big ones is eliminating property taxes altogether. Frankly, that's not going to pass in its present form because it doesn't address the issues, and we're going about it wrong as far as trying to get it passed in the state legislature, which we'll talk about later. So if you're fixing to protest your property tax for the first time, I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to show you how I've done it in the past. I've been 100% successful if you consider settlements with meetings with your property tax appraiser as an agreed settlement to bring it back down from what they're trying to appraise it at. And also, I've been 100% successful when I've taken them to the board. And it doesn't mean I'm doing anything right. It just means I've tried to do the research how I know how to do it and then present it as I do. And there are times that I haven't protested my taxes because I didn't find that the increase was that unreasonable. But a lot of people, their taxes are going up 100, 200, 300%. Matter of fact, what got me started on this was that when I first bought my property after I retired from the fire department down here in Hood County, it just taken me about 3 years to build the house as a waterfront home, and it was appraised around $220,000. And so I retired and I moved out here, and retired in the summer of 2006. And so I wasn't able to file a homestead exemption until January 2007. And then in January 2007, they reappraised my property at $607,000 in 1 year, that big a leap. And I was just devastated at what that was going to cost us in property taxes. And I fought it then, and I've been fighting unreasonable increases ever since. And no experts. I just get my comps myself. I go argue it myself, and I've been successful to a degree. I never get 100% what I was looking for and asked for, except a few times when I've actually had to go all the way to the full appeal, and I did get it then. But that doesn't mean nothing, because after every time I've settled it or appealed it and won, the very next year they just raise it again, and you have to argue the point again, and if it's unreasonable. So anyway, like I said, I'm not a public speaker. I have a degree in public education, a bachelor's degree in public education. I have an associate's degree in business with a minor in fire science. I'm a certified public administrator. It's the same certification that your city managers have from the University of Texas at Arlington. And I've got 30 years in the fire service. I'm an executive fire officer certification, which is a whole different gamut. And since I retired in 2006, I've had several businesses, and we have several businesses now. And one of them is a real estate investment company. We have a lot of rental properties. So property taxes is a big killer for us. And we pay out the ears in property taxes in more than one county. So As you can tell, there's a lot involved in this, and this will take a little while, but let's go over here to the computer and I'll kind of walk you through what I do every time I go to protest my taxes. So bear with me, I'm not going to break this, turn this off and on. I'm going to just keep moving the camera. Remember, I'm not a professional, I'm not a public spokesperson. I'm just trying to help some people that are lost in what they're trying to do as far as protesting their taxes for the first time. I'm going to move the camera over here, hopefully, where you can see my computer. So bear with me. And I have to put my glasses on every time we do this because, like a lot of us of my age, I'm in my 60s, my reading isn't that great. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit. This is the website. This is actually the Facebook group that I've started. And this is Texas Property Tax Reform Political Discussions. There's two of these websites. One is private. This is the private one. And this is the public one. And the reason we have a private and a public one is because a private one is our ultimate goal, and that's what we're shooting for, because we want to restrict who can get on our website. Once we start this fight to fight property taxes, and we've already started, we don't want all the people from the tax appraisal districts or the cities, county, school districts coming in and see what we're doing. So in the private one, we're going to be able to restrict them, and that's our ultimate goal. But the public one lets us be out there so anybody in the state of Texas can find us and join us, and then we'll recruit them over to the private one. Having both of those was an idea of one of our members who thought that we'd be able to greatly increase our membership as we go. I have my dogs in my house and they're scratching at the door, so you have to bear with me. All right. So if you see this, please join us. I don't care if from Texas or not, but we prefer everybody from Texas. But everybody across the nation is having problems with these property taxes. Just that Texas is so affected by all these people from coming in from out of state, paying top dollars for these prices. Plus, like if you're buying a house, the most common price range right now for a household in Texas is $750,000. It's people coming in mainly from California, and that's just the asking price. They're asking top dollar for property in Texas right now. And if you want to buy one of these properties, you've got to offer $50,000 above that asking price to buy those houses. It's ridiculous what houses are going for, but that's killing us that live here in Texas. And not to word this out, but the tax appraisal district is ingenious. Sorry, I have to drink water to keep my throat wet as we talk. Whoever set up this tax appraisal district were friggin' geniuses, y'all. What happens is they set up this district. Her whole job is to raise our appraisals every year. It started several years ago. It's not, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they first set the first one up. And their whole job is hire these guys that do nothing but raise our property tax valuations. And that just is a cash cow for these cities, counties, and school districts. I used to be a fire chief. I saw these increases coming in. Instead of these political subdivisions lowering our property tax rate to give us relief, it's just a free fall for money, and they spend the crap out of it. And if you don't think the cities, counties, school districts don't have the best toys in the world, you're fooling yourself. Meanwhile, get off of that and move forward. But this system's genius because none of the elected officials are accountable. Each school district, each county, each city appoint people to the board of the tax appraisal district, and so they're not really appointing the individuals. The city, county, and school district are. So if you ask or complain to them about your appraisals going through the roof, they say, "Oh, we have nothing to do with that. You have to talk to the tax appraisal district." They're not accountable for anything, but they get all the money. Ultimately, they are, but they're going to appoint people that just rake in the money and get this funding for all these entities. So I'm gonna let you look over my shoulder. I'm gonna try to set this up so I'll be out of your way and you can see what I'm doing. Make sure my big head's out of the way. All right, so what I do is I go to, in Hood County, I'll type in Hood County Appraisal District. I'm not a typist, didn't take typing. And get close to it, Hood County Appraisal District pops in there. And when you go to this on Google, what you're gonna find is there's a lot of these things that pop up. A lot of these aren't real. A lot of these are just websites that are trying to get you to get their numbers up so they sell advertising on them. But I just happen to know, I've been there so many times, that the one that in Hood County is HTTPS ISW Data Client Azure website. This is the real Hood County Appraisal District website. And if you call your appraisal district, if they answer the phone, Hood County, they don't answer the phone. They'll tell you which website is real. So you click on that and it brings up these searches. The ISW Data does a lot, and I think they do Parker County also. They do a lot of the county websites for them. And so what you do is you bring this up, it has a lot of information on the left, but if you look at the top, it says property search. So if you click on property address, legal description, ID, property ID, then you can search all these different ways to find your property. So right now, it says search by owner name, but you can also search by address. You can do that. And when you do that, you can put in the street number and the street name, but put in the simplest amount of information to keep it. So for instance, I'll put in one of my addresses. Don't put in drive or street or nothing like that. And the numbers go in the first box. I tabbed over. And so I've got the number in here and just the simple words right here, and it clicks down here. Is it Bob White? And just click on it because that way you know the search is good. Click on that, and this is mine and my wife's property right here on one of our properties on Bob White Drive. And if you look at it, it gives you the legal description, the address, the owner's name, the geographic ID and property ID. You can also search these right here. This is what these are, geographic and property ID if you want to look that up. But addresses are the easiest and best. And the reason being is this right here. Once you bring it up, it's going to tell you all about your evaluation, how they got, what they're appraising your properties for the last several years also. Ours goes back all the way to 2016. So ours 4 years ago was right at 288,000, and now it's up to 380,000, and that's with us fighting it. We fought it, and it still is almost doubled. Well, not doubled, it's kind of about the third here, but it was way doubled than what the appraisals were. And then it goes down here and it breaks down what they're charging you for. Someone had asked, does a swimming pool affect your valuation? You bet it does. Right here, swimming pool, retaining wall. They shops, site improvement, everything you do to your house, they're going to stick it to you on your property taxes. So, if you see those people out there who don't fix their places up, maybe they got purpose. It may look like crap, but they're probably not being taxed to the roof like we are. And that's a shame that if you fix up your house, you're going to pay out theirs in taxes. But if you look around up here, property ID, property year tax summary, I'm looking for something that's not popping up. Stay with me just a second here. Oh my God. They have taken off, they usually have a map thing up here that you can click on, it's map. And what it does, it shows your neighborhood. And that is the easiest way to look at what the other property values are, is by clicking on that map. And they have taken that off. And I'm going to assume, and I know this is a little conspiracy theorist, but I'm going to assume they did that because it's fixing to be tax appraisal when they send out the notices for increases, and they might be trying to restrict what we can do. It's okay, we can still go back over here. So what we can do is we can go here to my neighbor's property on Bob White. I can view their property. This is across the street here. Theirs is appraised for $294,000. Their house was built in 1988. So really, this is not going to be a good comp for me. Our house was built in, we'll go back and look at our house. Ours was built in 2015, so I want to find something built in 2015 a little bit closer. So I'll just go up and down my street right here. But what was really cool about the maps was that you could look at the street over here that's not my street, and the street behind me that's not my street, because you got about a 1 to 2 mile radius that you can pull your comps from. But we still have our list of other people here that do it. This one was built in 1987. So let me just keep on going. And then here's one built in 2014. All right, shop. This is a shop that this person has in the property. And they're appraising the shop at $172,000, which is a 1,200 square foot shop, which is ridiculous. I'd be protesting that, because I guarantee you I can find shops that for 1,200 square feet that are valued at less. Well, let's take that for an example right there, okay? Let's say I own this property right here. They're appraising this shop, they're improving it at $172,000. So just so happens that I have a shop on my property. My land's valued at $64,000. And garage shop built in 1974, 700 square foot. Well, I guess they're rolling that into the house. Anyway, I just happen to know that if you look up, yeah, they've changed things up here to make this more difficult, I'm telling you. But if you look up, there's another shop up the street up here, and I don't know the address of it right off the top of my head. But if you go find that shop up the road, I just happen to know that it is Porch Site Improvement 94. It's appraised for like $15,000. It's a 1,200 square foot, 30 by 40 metal building, and I'm not seeing it here. So anyway, what you would do is you go down those properties and you'd find that same shop, and you find the value of that shop. Let's say it's showing a value of $15,000. Well, if you have two buildings, one's appraised at $176,000, one's appraised at $15,000. They're both metal buildings. You have an argument that yours is way the heck overvalued. So what you would do is that you would take that and you would print this page off here, showing what that value is, and then you would go back and you print off the shop value at $15,000 and one at $176,000. Go take pictures of both of those, and then and that's comp number one. And then what you want to do is go down, and usually you can drive these neighborhoods. You can get the address, find the metal building that you're comping it to, and then come back home and research it like this. You can drive up down your street, find a house that looks like yours that you know was built about in the same time or same year as yours was, and then you would come find this comp wherever that is, and you would print their page off, and you would show that their house is valued, and it's basically, you're looking at the square footage is what you're looking at. No, none of these houses are going to be the same square foot, but if it's the same kind of house built about the same year, the same quality of house, then you can take their price that they're being appraised at, divide it by their square foot, and it gives you square footage, multiply that into yours, and show that yours is way overappraised compared to what theirs is. You need 3 of those comps, and you need pictures. And you take that up there, and you sit down, and you talk to the appraiser that did your appraisal. And in Parker County right now, you're going to mail that in. What a crock that is, that you can't go up there and talk to the appraiser, because you need to be able to talk to them about your case like you would at your big board hearing if you're appealing it. And about 80% of the cases are won on those particular meetings with those. And only about 10% of the cases won when you go to a full board appeal. So your chances are much better to negotiate something or take a settlement with the appraiser that did your house. In Hood County, you can still meet with the appraiser. In Parker County, they're having mail-it-in right now. And I would be up there, I guarantee you, if I still had my house in Parker County, I'd be up there with pickets up there protesting that bunch of crud. But at the very least, you need to mail your stuff in a timely fashion and see if they won't give you a settlement to lower it. Because your chances of winning at the board, going to the board to appeal it, are slim. Where you have a really good chance if you mail it in, they may give you a nice settlement that's instead of 100,000 on 300,000, may back off to 175 or something, and that's a win to me because the chances of winning at the board are just not. The last time I went in, what I had to fight was when I came in here. What they raised was the land. They have my land right now appraised at $64,960. Have 10 acres, and I know that's a low appraisal. But I probably about 4 of these acres are in a floodplain over there that flood every time it rains really bad. And I've got video of the flood, the property flooding. It's a very worthless piece of property, but it's very heavily wooded. And we have a lot of deer and stuff that hang out over there, so we want to keep the land. It's beautiful to see all the animals and stuff. But I took that and I went around, because with mine being flooded, they tried to raise it up to like 12 or 14,000 an acre. Well, there's land all the way around me that is appraised for $8,000 an acre. So I got those comps, I took it up to them, I showed them mine floods, and they're trying to raise me to $12,000, but theirs doesn't, and theirs is valued at $8,000. And I took that, appealed it, and I won, and they asked me what mine was worth, and I told them I just wanted to stay where it was. It just wasn't, it wasn't right to increase it because that part of my land floods. And they agreed with me, and they let me keep it where it was. But they only had to raise the land, so I only had to argue the land. They didn't raise the land in the house. So if they're just raising the land, then get your comps for the land and get your pictures and document it. And if they're raising your house, then drive around your neighborhood, get those addresses that your houses are like your house, and especially about the same size, and then get the square footage figured out, and make that argument about your house. And if they're raising both, then make the argument about both of them. There are going to be people in your area that have lower appraisals than you do. I like to get the information off their website because they can't argue with themselves. If you get it from a realtor, usually if it's a realtor, something that's sold, it's going to be high anyway. They probably got top dollar for it because you need something that's sold in the last 12 months. And preferably something around the first of the year when they appraise you in January. But here on their website, you can go by what they appraised it out, and they have a tough time arguing with that. So anyway, that's how I do that. Just a quick note, what we're shooting for with the Texas Property Tax Reform discussions, what we're shooting for is to hopefully go in and over the next 2 years is to freeze property valuations. And I'm telling you, as a fire chief, degree in public administration, we can do that. The cities can still operate, the school districts can still function, and this is not just the plan, this is a small part of the bigger plan. But what I want to do in the next 2 years is freeze property valuations, get a handle on these people losing their houses, and allowing people to retire. And then over the next 2 years, over the next 2 sessions, 2 years apart, come up with a long-term plan on how we're going to fix that. Some want to eliminate property tax, but that's a whole nother discussion. And if you come up with another way to do that, and they want a VAT tax, which is a value-added tax, there's really some issues with that. One is they're trying to do that all at one time. Two, and the problem with that is the legislature doesn't work that way. They're not going to just throw out the whole way that we get tax money in and then adopt it in one session. They just don't work that way. Something's got to be incrementally done. And if you keep proposing that, it's because you don't know how it works. One of my businesses, we've been very active in the legislature. We've had several laws change for our business, and we know that you can't go in and just throw everything out, throw the baby out of the water, and put it in a different kind of bathtub. It just doesn't work that way. Two, the problem is, and I've talked to elected officials about going to a VAT tax and doing what property tax is that they're saying 7%, a 7% valuated tax will pay for all the lost property tax monies that are coming into the state. One, I question the math. I don't think that's true at all. And that's even another discussion. I'm sorry, that's going to piss a lot of people off. But I just don't believe that to be true. I don't think that math adds up. And there's situations that cause that to totally, completely collapse. Another reason that they won't do that is because if you're a Texas company and you're bidding on state contracts and you buy your stuff in Texas, that gives you a 7% disadvantage over any out-of-state business bidding on the same contract. And that is the biggest reason they say they're not going to pass it. Right now it's in committee. You have some state legislatures that are on board saying, oh yeah, we're all for this. They know it's not coming out of committee, but they get to look really good saying, oh yeah, we're not going to pass, we're all on board for doing with property taxes. And they can smile and say it to your face because they are on board with it because they know it's not coming out of committee. They all know it's not coming out. And so if that's our long-term goal, and I'm okay with that, we need to fix the system, fix the problem that's against these businesses that are going to be trying to work in Texas, that are going to have an unfair advantage. And we've got to overcome that, and we also got to do it incrementally. But we can freeze property taxes in 2 years, still fund our cities, counties, and school districts. And here's the basis of that is, you live in Weatherford right now, let's say you live in Burleson right now, you're already paying for our fire, police, EMS, your water, your sewer, you're already paying for it, you already got it. So why should you have to pay for these new developments to have better roads, a bigger water system, and new sewer? You shouldn't. What you're paying in taxes is already paying for what your service is. And so your property taxes ought to be frozen. And then the people that are coming in developing all this new growth in your county, in your city, they need to have fees put on those developments that pay for all that new fire stations, police stations, and all that new tax coming in with that new bill will pay for new police officers and firefighters. So you and I shouldn't have to pay for that. Another reason we need to freeze property taxes is that when you bought your house, let's say you bought your house 30 years ago, 20 years ago, your property tax should have been frozen then because you're at the highest tax rate there is for that year, and it's frozen, and your kids are going to school. But as you get older, 30 years later, there's no reason for you to be paying the highest tax rate around. You no longer have kids in school. And that's why the property tax should be frozen. Some of the people down in Central Texas were upset when I proposed freezing property taxes. They said, well, the guy next to you is going to be paying a lot less than I'm paying if I just bought my house. Well, that's true, but they've been paying it for 30 years, and they've already put their kids through school. And if they chose to buy a new house, they're paying the new highest rate, but it's frozen, and then they can start building down over the years. There's a lot more to that plan, but that's the concept behind that, and it is something we can pass in 2 years. But here's the biggest thing, is that some of these local groups and tax groups, they have 3,000 members, 6,000 members. And the truth of the matter is though, and they propose this legislation with their 3,000, 6,000 members, stuff like that, but there's more city managers and elected officials than there are the group members. And there's no way 6,000 people is going to change the laws of Texas that affect millions of people, especially when these city officials take our tax money, hire lobbyists to kill legislation to do anything about property taxes because it's their benefit. City managers are making $500,000, $750,000 bucks a year. The fire chiefs, the police chiefs are making $150,000, $200,000 a year. It's out of control, and it's their benefit to make sure that we don't succeed. That all has to be brought under control too. It's a big mess, but it's all fixable. But only if we get an organization like Texas Property Tax Reform and Discussions that get members up to 1 million. We've got to have 1 million members to even get the attention of these elected officials. And I'm not saying do away with these local groups. I'm saying that we need to bring all these local groups together to join a bigger umbrella group that gets our numbers up to 1 million people. It's those numbers that will get our attention and get these things fixed. We can put this multi-year plan together. It's going to take 6, 8, 10 years to fix it, but we can get some relief in 2 years for everybody that needs it now. Sorry this whole thing took so long, but hopefully this will help people want to protest it. This will give hope to people that want some relief in the future. My name is Shannon English. I'm with the Texas Property Tax and Tax Reform and Discussions. I hope you join us. I hope you share this video. And I think we're going to have a live session in the next couple of weeks that we can all go online at the website and start these discussions. And also we're going to need volunteers to help. So if you got time, just a couple hours a week at the most, if we have several people doing it, we can get this word out, get our numbers up, and make this happen. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope we can do some good. Sorry about the audio if you can't understand me very well, but thank you very much.